So, got an email the other day from Slate Digital about two new plugins that they've added to the virtual mix rack. That is the Chorus D bundle. This is a take on a Roland SDD Dimension chorus box that was out and basically added like a chorusing kind of dimension sound to things. And I wanted to check out these plugins because we happen to have a remake of the hardware from Klark Teknik, which is the BBD-320. So let's check out these plugins and see what this is all about. So first, let's talk about the Slate Digital version, and then we'll look at the Klark Teknik version that we have here in the studio. So first, the Slate Digital Chorus D bundle. This is the SD-D chorus and custom D chorus modulation in motion plugins. This is part of the virtual mix rack. So it says, enter a new dimension, step into the timeless world of lush, spacious sound with the SD-D chorus and custom D chorus, two meticulously modeled chorus modules capturing the magic of a 1979 classic, an instant legend upon release. This iconic effect shaped the sonic landscapes of Brian Eno, Talking Heads, and Kate Bush, delivering a signature depth and dimension that remains unrivaled. So the main plugin that we're looking at here is the SD-D chorus. This is very similar design to the original piece, if you've ever seen it, where it's got 4 mode buttons. Now, this plugin is a little bit different than the actual hardware piece, as the 4 button doesn't quite do the same thing necessarily. It's kind of its own unique thing here in the plugin, which is kind of cool. But as you can see, it adds a high pass cutoff, bias control, smoothing control for your LFO, and then a mix, of course, and we'll talk about button 4 in a little bit. There's also the custom D chorus, so this just gives you a little bit more feature set and ability to make some changes in here. Kind of a neat setup, but again, we're going to be mainly focused on the SD-D chorus. So as you can see here, this is our Klark Teknik third dimension BBD-320, which of course is based on the Roland version, and this has a bypass on and off 1, 2, 3, and 4 settings, a remote switch if we want to put it on, a level control, power, and a fancy light, because, you know, who doesn't love a fancy light? So now the question, of course, is, do these sound similar? Now, the Klark Teknik BBD-320 does sound slightly different than the original Roland, mainly due to some speeds on the number 4 setting. And there's some articles and posts out there from people doing mods on these to get them right in line. Ours is not modded, ours is an unmodded version, but since the SD-D version, the Slate plugin, also doesn't necessarily have the same functionality on number 4, the number 4 setting, I wanted to kind of check out 1, 2, and 3, see how close they are, see if there's a difference in the dimensionality, the chorusing sound, etc., with some different sounds that we have in Pro Tools. So let's go take a look at what we have going into Pro Tools and see what we can come up with. So here we have the plugin set up here, and as you can see, we have off 1, 2, 3, and the number 4 is a toggle on and off. This is basically just a delayed signal that feeds back into the whole system. So it's not quite the same, but could be very, very useful. So there that is, and again, we've got some audio tracks set up. Now, I did record here a sine wave and also some pink noise, and you can see we've got this lovely little analyzer here so we can see a visual representation of what these look like, which is very, very cool. So to start, let's just go ahead and play back our little sine wave here. We'll just kind of zoom in here. So as you can see, there's our lovely sine wave, just a mono sine wave. Very, very much fun. Now let's look at first the hardware version. Let me get these out of input monitoring mode. Okay, so let's look at this. you can see that wiggles back and forth. Very, very pretty. Let's look at the plugin. Very much the same thing. Let's look at setting number 2. And we'll go to the plugin. Hardware. So a little bit similar. You can see the waveforms do look slightly different there as well. And let's now go ahead, look at number 3. That's hardware, plug-in. So kind of fun. And then the last one is number 4 here. Now again, the hardware has an actual number 4, I guess like setting on it, whereas the plugin does not. You just add this back in. So I just added this to number 3 so we can kind of get a look at it. So let's look at the plugin. And the hardware. So again, like I said, the hardware has kind of its own thing versus the plugin there. So now let's go take a listen to a few things. So what I'll do, we'll keep these both muted. We'll listen to the dry track first, then I will switch on the hardware, and then we will listen to the plugin and kind of see what those differences are. So this is just an electric guitar. Let's take a listen. Hardware. Plugin. Back to hardware. Back to dry. So as you can kind of hear, they're definitely adding some chorusing, dimensionality, etc. to the whole unit, or the whole sound with those units. And it does depend on the settings, but that kind of gives you a rough idea. So let's look at specific settings and look at some other tones in here. So let's go ahead and pull up what setting we're on here. So here we've got, so we're on setting 3. And we're, so let's go ahead and do setting 1 here, and we can go ahead and double check our hardware version, and let's see what the hardware version looks like. So you can see we are on setting 1 there as well. Okay, so setting 1, and I'm going to do a bass loop here. Now the fun thing with these units is the input that we're getting, wherever the tonality sits, so wherever we are in frequency range does affect how these adjust the sound. So it's kind of input dependent, which is very neat. But this is just a played bass. We'll also look at a synth bass and maybe like a Rhodes piano here. So again, setting 1 on a bass. And again, we'll start with the dry sound and then we'll go hardware and then the plugin. So here it is. Hardware. Plugin. Back to hardware. And dry. So it definitely adds a nice dimensionality to the whole thing. It can, just kind of makes that bass sound nice and fat and thick. a little slightly different than a typical chorus, but definitely does have that chorusy dimensionality thing to it, which is really, really fun. So let's go ahead and look at something a little bit different. All right, in this one, we'll jump ahead. So let's go ahead and do a vocal here and see what this does to a vocal.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hardware.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Plug-in.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hardware.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Great sounds there. Definitely adds a nice dimension here. So let's go ahead and we'll jump to setting 3. So when we looked at that, again, this is going to be a little bit faster of a sound. And let's go ahead and shift this guy over to number 3 there. Okay. So let's go ahead. We're going to do another bass sound on this one. But this is more of like a synth bass. I'll go ahead and play it here a little bit. And let's do plug-in. All right, so definitely some nice dimensioning there. Nice chorus, sounds fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 2. That's number 2, and see what we can do there with that. And so we'll go ahead and we're gonna switch this to number 2. All righty. So for this one, we're gonna do the Rhodes, this nice, beautiful Rhodes sound. Here it is. Hardware. Plug-in. Hardware. And nothing. So while there is some level jump there, of course, because we're adding extra signal, it definitely is adding some beautiful dimension, beautiful chorusing sound coming back into those tones, which sounds absolutely fantastic. While there are some slight differences as far as speed, etc., I would definitely say that this plugin is very much on par with what I would expect out of the box, the hardware box specifically. Now, there is something to note. The one beauty with something like this is the ability to go in with a mono signal and being able to add it or send it to like this chorus and have it really fill out. So using this plugin, I did try it on a mono, just going onto a mono channel. Didn't quite work the same. So I definitely recommend throwing this plugin onto a stereo channel and sending your mono information to it if you can. or go ahead and just throw the plugin on, convert that mono into like a stereo track when you do it. Even though it's a mono signal, it still will convert and give you that extra beautiful chorus sound when you're doing stuff. Just add a little dimension to maybe like that electric guitars, a mono piano. I mean, you can use, of course, use this on stereo stuff too, but definitely on those mono instruments, it really helps to fill out the sound, give you a very unique, beautiful sound, very lush sounding, and I can't wait to see what people get to create with this fantastic plugin that Slate Digital has released. Something that, while maybe considered a one-trick pony, I feel definitely now has more use cases in modern music and being able to fatten up sounds that we're creating, whether that's just loops, etc., things in the box or little things that you're creating yourself. So hope this was a helpful comparison between the plugin and an outboard analog piece that we happen to have here in the studio. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, anything that you have, any input you have on this plugin or on the Klark Teknik if you happen to have one as well. Of course, please make sure to follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to see more little tips, tricks, reviews, etc. on audio gear from the studio. And as always, keep making great music.